You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Hey, David Hall.
Hello.
And Donnie Spiker.
Good afternoon, fellas.
Am I chopped liver?
Cactus.
There we go.
Welcome. On the show today, we will recap the Coke Series playoff race at Bristol with the voice of eNASCAR, Evan Pasoko. We'll check out some of the new Season 4 updates in action. We'll peek inside Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s garage to see what might be next for iRacing and review the 2023 NIS schedule.
And remember, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all these great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. So let's see you there.
Yeah, Sim Coaches offers the most realistic sim racing equipment you need to win more races online. It is designed for real racers. Hydraulic construction makes them feel just like the real thing. High quality construction, 100% leak proof, and a lifetime warranty are the key features with these pedals, and they look absolutely amazing. Check out simcoaches.com and use the promo code iRacersLounge to get 10% off your purchase. Simcoaches.com is your ticket to feel like you're actually sitting behind the wheel of a car. Drive harder and stay on the limit longer.
All right, as we roll into topics, it's neat to see that iRacing is contributing to the preservation of historical tracks, not just in America, but also on the other side of the globe. According to iRacing, the famed Pukekohe Park racing circuit will be preserved in the leading motorsport simulator service, iRacing. The confirmation of the agreement between iRacing and the circuit owners comes during the week of the Supercar Championship's final appearance at the track.
Wow, how neat is it, the final race at that track, an agreement is reached so the fans know, during that race, hey, we're going to have a digital version of this.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a part street circuit, and that's why they're doing it at this weekend in particular. Can't tell by that first image or not if it is.
Now, there is an article that they put up. I'm going to read a little bit of this. It says, it's not the first time iRacing has scanned a circuit prior to its real-life closure. Oran Park was scanned before it being converted to housing in 2010. With motorsport activity set to cease at the circuit in April of 2023, the case for the historic New Zealand circuit to be laser scanned by iRacing became very clear.
Yeah, pretty cool to see another Australian track coming to the service. We almost have I don't know how many more tracks we have left for them, but it seems like they're getting a lot lately.
It's in New Zealand, and it's got horse racing, motor racing, and community events. So it's an actual track, dedicated track. It's been around for 50 years.
So
Yeah,
can we take the dirt midgets on the horse track?
We have to pack
It's
that
a
dirt down
track,
some.
right? Fantasy track maybe. That might be cool.
We'll see if they get that one done at Indy first. So what about, is this next one here, Brian? Is this a graphics glitch we're looking at?
Yeah, this comes from JDR Graphics, and they tweeted a picture of Barney the Flagman standing on his flag stand as the cars go by. But he's facing the wrong way. He's facing towards the fans in the stadium rather than facing over the cars on the track. So yeah, I'm assuming it's some kind of weird bug that happened. It's looks like it's a sprint car dirt track, and yeah, so Barney's just got his bearings a little screwed up on this one.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's supposed to be like this because his left hand is resting nicely on that rusted piece of pipe up there. So I don't know if somebody did it as a joke. I don't know if that's easy for them to go in and out of these and plug Barney around, but I mean, he fits on the other side perfectly, it looks like.
Maybe one of the fans was heckling him for one of those phantom cautions or failing to call a caution when the car's, sideways on the track.
I think he just gets tired. Like he throws a couple quick cautions in the beginning and he's like, this is how this race is going to go. And then he just allows the mayhem to happen.
Yeah, like he can't watch anymore. I was like, I'm just turning around. I can't watch anymore. That's it.
Hurry up and get it over with.
Well, let's transition back over to the real world for a second. We got a few more tweets from Raja, right? Looks like we have a shot of his Xfinity car with the iRacing colors.
Yeah, so last week we had that story. He had a tease just of an Xfinity banner and that he's running an iRacing paint scheme. So we found out it was with the Alpha Prime, and he just shows a couple tweets off here of him in the garage and him getting ready for, I think he qualified, looks like P27 for the race. Ended up finishing 25th, but the car looked good. I don't know what that side's. Oh, Virginia State University was on the side with iRacing on the hood and on the tailgate.
Yeah, love that hood. Big old iRacing logo surrounded in blue. Looks really good. But it was just a one race deal, I think. I don't think he's racing it this week.
Now that team seems to have a carousel of drivers coming through. Whoever's got money gets a seat. I think before the season started, he announced he had a handful of opportunities in this car this year.
All right, Mike. I bet you probably got to watch this Lotus 79 update.
Yeah, they put out a YouTube video iRacing did to talk about this Lotus 79 and remind people what a cool car this is. And it's neat to see the video. I actually don't own this car, but it sure makes me want to buy it when I look at this thing. It's like the old school F1.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool. I don't own the car either. So I wouldn't know the huge differences that we're going to see here. But yeah, like you're saying, it makes you want to buy it. I wish I had more time sometimes when I think about it, because we might see some stories later on some cars that might be coming to the service that look really cool and would really be a lot of fun to drive.
Well, that's the thing. There's so many choices. I mean, I'm at the point where there's more cars out there than I, have time to run. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to buy. If and this has been one I just haven't chosen to buy. But when they do an update like this, and it really makes you give it a second thought.
Yeah, the only reason I own it is because we ran it in the majors last year. So that's a different experience.
What kind of track do you race that on, Dave? You remember?
I think it was Long Beach.
Okay.
I love the big tires in the back and smaller tires in the front.
And no protection for the driver.
I think I don't remember if it had 6 speeds or only 5 speeds, but I do remember that you had to clutch it. So I had to hand clutch to get it to shift. I think it was for downshifts. I think you just had to get off the throttle for the upshifts, but it did not have that it did not have that paddle shifting technology that they have now where you just tap the button. But speaking of technology, we've also got an increasing AI presence, and that's what the next video is about.
Yeah, Lotus 49s, and I don't own this one either, but apparently those have AI. But I think the big one is the NASCAR Next Gen AI. Now, I did get a chance to run this late Tuesday night, kind of as a practice race, to get my feet wet a little bit at Bristol. I was impressed. I mean, I had to tweak the strength of field, and adjust the little sliders up a little bit because I was, starting 20th and getting to first, within a few laps. So I'm like, this is too easy. So you have to go adjust it. But once you find the right level where they're pretty equal to you, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, they actually added a ton to AI as well as a lot of tracks. So it looks like they're ramping up AI. You can almost just enjoy your time racing computer instead of racing other people.
I mean, we're at that point. I mean, and before, I mean, iRacing has always been known as, the public lobbies, the leagues where you're racing real people. That was always a signature of what made iRacing different. But now I think they have enough AI, especially now that they got the current gen NASCAR and a bunch of ovals. I mean, I think you could say, "Hey, I'm starting iRacing not to race other people, but just to do AI."
Do you think they develop game modes within the online service dedicated to AI, like some kind of career mode?
It seems like a why not?
They better not get a victory lane before we get a victory lane.
That's funny. Yeah, Donnie wants his victory lane bad.
I mean, I never win, but I'd still like to go see it.
Career mode is pretty cool. I mean, and you think the people that are working on the UI, I mean, at some point the UI will be quote done, and then they got to work on something else. So that would be something to work on. Let's build in, something to really draw people into the AI.
Yeah, and you're for nerdy enough, you can treat the online service as a career mode anyway, and with your spreadsheets and all that good stuff.
Yeah, as the AIs get more and more prevalent, it also spurs a lot of the guys who like to create cars from certain years and seasons. We've seen that a few times, and they get really creative and very good at recreating full fields of period specific seasons of cars.
I
Seems
was
like a
just
lot of work.
thinking, Brian, I was just thinking I need to go to tradingpaints.com and find some of these collections that you're referring to, add them and by marking them as your favorite, and then you're able to select them in the UI to actually use while you're in an AI race.
All right,
So
next
I
thing
have
we.
done that.
Oh, go ahead.
Now,
Sorry.
sorry, I was going to say, David, I had done this before with other series, but I need to update it now that we got the next gen.
Yeah, I personally I don't touch the AI. I just go in and uh, I don't. Well, I want to know what I've got against the other people that I'm competing against. Right? You find that with the AI opens. So I was about to hit a transition here, so I'll just bring it in. We have a concrete tease out from Greg Hill. He tweeted a photo of a section of concrete with tire marks and asks, what world renowned racetrack might this be? And they mentioned that it's getting an overdue quality overhaul with all new PBR textures and landmark buildings and structures redone from scratch. So based on that, I guess it's not an actual rescan. They're just touching up the graphics. So that, I mean, I guess we recently had a Bristol uh, overhaul when they added dirt, right? So this might be Sebring as we have on our script.
Yeah, I don't know what other giant portions of concrete we race upon other than possibly Long Beach, but I can't think of any concrete patches that they run on.
Portland, but we don't have Portland.
Well, I think when he says it's world renowned, indicates it might be international. So I'm leaning towards something like Sebring.
Sebring's one of
So,
those top 10 racetracks in the world. I think it is, but it's kind of a weird layout. Well, it's a cool layout. It's fun to race, but it's a unique track to be recognized as world renowned. But it is.
It's the
so,
flattest of the road courses, pretty much, because it's an
look,
airport.
so I just scrolled the replies, and there's a lot of them, and I would say 60 to 70% are saying Sebring.
Yeah, the giant concrete patch gives it away. But we thought Pikes Peak was coming a few weeks back, and it was some track in Norway.
Yeah, right. So yeah, don't hold your breath.
All right. There was a patch this morning I noticed because when I got home, I had to do some updates. We'll probably be talking about that a little bit down the road. But there was also some companion app updates, Mike.
Yeah, there was. They put out a patch on the companion app, which I really like. The little notifications that come up on my NIS races. I kind of like that. I got one set for an hour before, and then I think 5 minutes before, and it helps remind me. But I like it for a lot of things. One
Wait a
thing
second.
that still hasn't been fixed is when I go and look at results, I can't read the results because the fonts are too big and they cut each other off. I was kind of hoping that they had heard that before and had fixed it, but no, it hasn't been fixed yet.
But does this mean you're never going to miss NIS because of time change again?
It could help me for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's what I was thinking too, Dave.
Love their app. I really do. They say a new standings widget has been added to the single series screen. This will show you the top five or your position and the four closest positions if you are present in the standing.
Yeah, I got the app a couple weeks ago. I actually enjoy it. I'm looking at the results page now for my race last night, and it looks good. So I don't know if it's a I'm on a Samsung S9. I don't know what you're viewing it on, but everything looks okay.
I'm on an
Um,
iPhone, but I turn up the size of my text
uh,
because
well, maybe
I'm
That's
turn the
probably
text
it.
blind.
down. But yeah,
They
no,
just,
it
yeah,
looks
there's ways to make it compatible
yeah.
or they can force it to their smaller size. But what's happening is they're showing the larger text, and then that's why I can't see it.
All right, that makes sense. I think they're missing what David mentioned a few months ago, which is registration. But you can see standings, and it's pretty simple, pretty clean. You can select favorite series that you like, and only see those series, which is nice. So set reminders for those. But the standings is pretty cool. Pretty quick to go look. You can look up your series schedule if you'd like. So far, it's been clean. So far, so good. But maybe add the registration tab on there. That would be nice.
So last night I used it to look up upcoming races. Like I wanted to see when the F2000 race was starting and what track it was. And it worked good for that. I mean, I was able just to click it, scroll a little bit, boom, there it is.
I like that after they purchased this app from iScheduler, that they really seem to be putting some resources and time into making it better and increasing the amount of functions that are in it. So who knows? The sky might be the limit on this app, and it could become a a really good companion to the service. And that's what I'm hoping for. We all talked about it'd be ideal to you can register for races and stuff like that. Who knows? That could be something that they eventually work their way into.
Agreed. And the sky's the limit. I mean, you look at the company I work for, Verizon, they put all their eggs in one basket in their app. I mean, they designed that app so you can literally take care of any piece of business on your cellular account. Literally everything. And it's really deep, as you would call it. It's got layers and layers and layers of functionality in it. And I think iRacing can do the same thing, like you're saying, is just keep building on it. They got a great base right now, a good starting base, And now just chip away at it, just keep adding stuff like, like we've been talking about.
All right, we have an Instagram post from iRacing Official that shows next gen AI, and the title of the we have on the script is AI throwing some blocks, and that's actually what they have in their description too. But if you actually watch it, he's not blocking; it's actually defending, right?
Yeah, I didn't see any blocks at all.
I mean, defending
But
is
they
when
don't
you
give it up.
no, he's just exiting low instead of taking the full track. He's exiting to protect the next corner entry,
And he
that's
actually maintains his line.
It's only it really is only a block. Even if he exits high, it's only a block if he moves to the right to block after the other guy has already made his move. But it never happened that way.
But I liked it. It looked good. I wish some real world drivers could drive like this.
When you talk about the line, one thing I noticed when I ran the AI at Bristol was, especially at the pacing laps before the green, they pace too perfectly. I mean, they're all just perfectly, spaced. They all keep a perfect line. They don't wobble, up or down. Uh, I was the leader, and I would go up against the pace car, but they wouldn't come up with me. They would stay back. And so that looked a little weird. I mean, it would be nice if they could put a little wobble in there. Oh, if somebody scrubs a tire a little bit, just make it look a little random.
Now, do you have any 2-lane weavers in AI where they just weave across the track and then wrecking going into turn one?
Well, that would really make it normal, wouldn't it?
I wish weaving made it work because sometimes it's fun, but then it's annoying to be next to that guy because you're just super nervous that he's going to run right into you.
AI is fun, especially when I've done it on road, because you can be sloppy. I mean, oh, I drove it in too deep, and now 8 corners turn better than four. I mean, 8 tires turn better than four, and I kind of ran that guy off the track. Oh, sorry, it's AI. It's like really no big deal. And so you can kind of play around like that a little bit and do aggressive stuff that you would never be able to do in a real race.
Well, Brian, this next one might be our best source for rig reviews for the next century, right?
Yeah, so this is a tweet that came from iRacing.com official Twitter page, and they ask a pretty simple question. What does your racing rig setup look like? And just send a picture in your comments is what they were asking you to do. And yeah, they got a lot. And wow, it runs the gambit from everything from super high end stuff to some guy sitting on a couch with a TV dinner tray and full racing gear, which was one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, Tony Kanon put up his rig, as well as Anthony Alfredo. I put pictures of my rig in there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see the range and what people are comfortable with and the level of immersion some people get in and don't get in. Just really cool. Always like seeing posts like these.
So did you see the guy in the full racing suit, helmet, gloves, sitting on a love seat recliner and his wheels attached to an ironing board? Did you see that one?
Oh yeah, yeah, the ironing board,
That's
and then the irons
that's
on
pretty
one
good.
side weighing it down so it doesn't move.
My first video in here is a guy using a PlayStation remote, and growing up using the remote, I've always thought about using it just to give it a go on iRacing. I haven't done it yet. Too lazy to map that, but I don't know. You can always almost somewhat tell when you're racing a controller, when you're racing against a guy on a controller, but I do now see the couch and the ironing board.
No, Brian, they showed that on the Coke race pre-race.
Oh, did they? Oh, I'm gonna watch that then. I didn't watch the pre-race. I just skipped to the start of it, but I'm gonna go back in because I got to hear what they say about that one.
I'm pretty sure we've covered this one, but they've got the one with the TV tray sitting by the toilet.
Oh, yep, that's in there. Some really good stuff too. Gives you some ideas on what to look at, but then sometimes I think there's just too much stuff, and that might be a pain in the ass to clean up sometimes. Like,
And it gives you ideas about decorating your sim cave or your sim room. Like, what do you put on the wall? I mean, what lighting, accent lighting. A lot of people have, steering wheels or die cast or other racing memorabilia and that kind of thing. And I'm always thinking about ways of dressing up my area.
yeah, I like the idea of putting the sound deadening foam on the walls, just for minor things like the shifter and sometimes the pedal, if you get excited or not. But I don't know, this room's pretty jam packed with all three of my hobbies, so I don't know how much more I could grow in this particular room. There's Mike's setup and his multicolor Technicolor.
Yeah, when you got the Philips Hue lights, you can do a lot of different things with and be creative with colors. I spent a lot of money on that stuff. I mean, I have them in the ceiling fan. I got them going around the back of the triples, and then I got two hanging over the fourth monitor. So all of those are hooked to a bridge and controlled, and it's pretty cool.
I'm looking at Tony Kanan's setup right now. It looks like he might have that Gomez wheel that I tried out a couple weeks back. It's just cool to see these old timers that are done racing for the most part have the same crap we have or that we could get. I mean, he's got a streaming deck, he's got some button box, he's got an iFlag, he's got that fourth curved monitor that looks a little goofy up top there, but some WinSims. Looks good. Looks like we can keep this thing going forever.
That's what I was gonna say. This thread just keeps on scrolling, and I'm trying to find the end. I still haven't found it.
Well, we just don't need any more submissions for rig reviews. We just go right there and pick one and go, right? But the next one I got is a quick hit here, just a Lucas Oil price correction. They posted the wrong price, and so if you bought it ahead of time, you can get a $3 credit if you overpaid for the track. So if you want to be really, really pain in the rear, you could say, "I want that $3 back on my credit card," but or just take the credit and put it towards the next car.
Yep, they're just trying to take care of people and hopefully it just goes over smoothly. Just take your $3 credit.
I guess the dirt ovals are not as expensive as the regular tracks. This is the way I'm reading this.
Yeah, that's sometimes. I mean, I think it just depends. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason as to why some are more expensive than the others. Maybe they're just some tracks are bigger and it took longer to scan. I don't know.
Well, Greg West's post says normally $11.95 for dirt ovals. So if you bought it, you got a credit. But speaking of dirt ovals, we've got the late model series week 7 update, Brian.
Yeah, so week 7 was this past Monday night. The World of Outlaws late models sponsored by Buck Kicker. We're at Knoxville, and coming into the week 7, Evan C had a pretty substantial lead with his spectacular season he's having over Blake Majulis, and he extends that lead by winning for his third time in 7 races. So, yeah, his third win in 7 races. That extends his streak of first or second place finishes through 7 weeks, all 7 weeks of the season. He won his heat race again. Obviously, he actually started in 4th position because he was in the 4th heat, and he drove his way up to the win. Now, Blake Majulis, who was in 2nd place in points before this race started, he actually he did not qualify well at all. He started P5 in his heat and didn't make the feature right away. He had to come through the consolation, but he had an awesome race because he started in 17th and wound up driving up into I think he finished 7th place. So I mean that's a big game, and there was no cautions in this whole race, so it was a 50 lap feature. So Blake Majulis, you know, had no help with any cautions or anybody dropping out from accidents to make a big jump. But still, MNC is just on fire this year. I mean, he's nearly untouchable. He extends his lead even higher over Blake with that performance, and with 2 races to go, he's pretty much wrap this thing up. He's pretty much just got to show up and make features, and he'll be fine. But if he can keep this up for the next 2 weeks and claim, to finish in the top 2 of every race of the entire season, I mean, I'm putting that down as one of the best per race seasons of any season I've seen so far on iRacing across all the different disciplines. So if you want to check this race out on the iRacing YouTube channel, the replay, it was actually a really, really good race to watch. A really, really good race. 4 drivers were battling it out for many laps, dicing it up, sliding each other. Really good race going on. And then Blake or Evan C just comes out at the end. Really good race to watch. 2 weeks to go. And just Evan C, you can't say enough. He's just having an amazing season.
Bring it home, right?
Well, those
Very
are
impressive.
those are the kind of seasons which are why the playoffs exist now, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Dave. But on a 10 race season, it'd be hard to throw in a playoffs, I guess. But yeah, I mean, he's making a laughing stock out of the season. But it's still pretty awesome to watch that kind of dominance and that kind of performance on a consistent basis.
All right, we're talking about being in week 1, the season 4 build. iRacing has posted a video featuring all of the new things on there, and I'm not going to read this long paragraph in here. It's just basically the whole feature list. And we talked about the low frequency thing a little bit last time, and I had a little bit of an update on that. I went ahead and used the 10 decibel cut option, and then had to crank everything back up, and combining that with the adjustments that I made to get it to give me my tire slip feel, it's working a little bit better, I guess, probably because it's not clipping as much, or there's not as much noise, but I'm able to run it a little bit louder without it overheating now. So that was handy.
I'm still tweaking mine as well. I turned my rig so it faces the subwoofer because I was getting a lot of directional sound and I had it to my right. And so now it's like in front of my feet, so I'm not getting the directional sounds coming from the front now, and it's not as weird. But I'm still dialing in the levels. You have all these different sliders on the LFE. How much do you want to hear of engine noise and rumble, and like David says, tires, squeaking. So it's just trying to balance that. And then as I go from car to car, it's like it's totally different. I have to start over with tweaking the levels. And so I haven't found something that works car to car.
Yeah, and it's just a video highlighting everything that came out last week. So if anybody's interested, iRacing posted a video. Just give it a rundown on what came out.
It's been helpful with the LFE to have it on a separate knob. And so I have the knob for the master volume and a knob for the LFE. And between those two, I can usually find a balance as I go from car to car.
Well, now let's talk about a little bit of possible future content, though. I wonder if we're reaching for straws here. We have a tweet from Dale Hurt Jr. That's just a couple of pictures, right? I don't think he really says anything about iRacing here, but we're asking, I guess, if it could be a Pontiac for the 87s or a new midget scan.
Now there's another photo floating around the internet of an iRacing crew member scanning the Pontiac here. Has a bunch of scan tape on it, and he's going over it with his wand. So I'm assuming that's coming, or it's for something. But yeah, he's got them in his garage for some reason.
And there's another photo from Dale Earnhardt Jr. later in the day. He shows the front of that Petty car. The first picture was the back of it. And I just presume this is just another car for the 87 series, you know.
Could
But
be,
at the same
but
time, I mean, he also put up a dirt car, a Christopher Bell dirt car. But don't we already have that car?
Dale's just a history fan, right? So that could just be a part of his collection, or just him celebrating the fact that he's got access to these historical cars. I mean, this is speculating. It could also be a scan. I'm just saying it's be careful not to jump to a conclusion on it. Though the hint that you saw, there's a photo of somebody actually taking measurements, that adds more credence to it possibly being a scan.
Yeah, there's a tweet from the Petty Garage Twitter account, and they were overlooking the shop from above, and had a guy in an iRacing Polo with the 87 Pontiac, and it had a bunch of tape all over it, and he was a couple guys were scanning it, or had a scan tool with it.
Well, if you remember, with the 87 cars, there was a poll, whether they should release the Pontiac or the Oldsmobile, and I think they went with the Oldsmobile because you could double it as the Buick, right? And then so you kind of get two cars for one almost. But looks like I think the more popular choice was actually the Pontiac in that poll.
Mhm. Yeah, so this could be the follow-up to that.
Yeah, would it be just a cosmetic scan? Do they have to do anything engine wise or nothing? They're all I don't know if they were all the same back then, but I don't know how much work they'd have to do to get the Pontiac out.
Now, back in those days, they were constantly actually having to do balance and power, kind of like sports cars do today. They'd be arguing over how much spoiler they should have, and constantly asking for more or less horsepower for each brand. It was just, that was one of the things they tried to get rid of with COT. Actually, was to try to make all the cars more even.
I get that for stock car oval racing, but the balance of power and road racing kind of, I don't know. I've been off and on a road fan throughout my life, but I just figured if BMW wanted to bring whatever car GT4 they want to bring, then Mercedes would have to bring theirs, and then they race them. Kind of neutering some cars to match some cars always sat wrong with me a little bit.
Yeah, but when anytime you're putting something in a certain class, if something else is on the edge of that class, you start dealing with safety concerns. That's what it all ultimately comes down to. If it turns into run what you brung, there's going to be guys that will sacrifice safety for speed.
Just got done watching Ford versus Ferrari, and that was fantastic. Little details of what you just said there.
Well, let's talk patch notes. What do we got here? Looks like some general changes to the UI. Right. There's
Little
an error
fixes
message,
there.
little fix there. An error message with hosted racing results in paint shop. Then in the simulation, they've added some. Actually, this is for the forums, so that's not really simulation, but they've added some moderation tools, and all protests should be handled through the official iRacing protest system. I don't know why I guess that's just a note.
Yeah, that first one I brought up last week when we were actually going through it. I mentioned that when you open up the UI, everything's just large for whatever reason, and it looks like they had fixed it.
Oh, the UI scaling up at the top. Yep.
New damage model adjustments. They had an issue where damage was being distributed incorrectly to the nearby mounts.
And something that was particularly important for the Mercedes W12.
It says, as a result of this change, all vehicles using the new damage model have been rebalanced for improved performance and realism.
They did a little bit of work on the LFE system, improving the RPM effect, and they've added a low pass filter to reduce the noise and a graduated RPM scale that's been added to help keep frequencies in the range most shakers can operate. All right. So what a low pass filter does is that just means only low frequencies go to the wire, and anything higher is just cut out of the signal.
So this probably means I'll need to adjust some more, and see if I need to use the low pass filter or not. But the sub I have hooked to it, it has one built in, so I really don't need it.
Cutting those higher frequencies out will just it will reduce the heat in your wire as well. What they do to the
They
cars.
Well, first they fixed an issue with Varho headsets weren't working with OpenXR, so I bet those guys are happy.
I think I remember a guy coming on my stream and talking about that there was an issue there. Looks like they did some work on the Arca car, the Audi RS3, which is the touring car.
Decent amount of updates to the new Mission R car. They lowered this engine sound. The high frequency sounds have been turned down slightly.
So it's less ear piercing, I guess.
That's a deal killer for me. I every time I hear that, I'm like, ooh.
Reduce their pit stop by 7 seconds.
Oh, that'll be interesting. So they did finally change the next gen pit stop.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That's still for the Mission R.
Oh, okay. They need to work on the next gen pit stops as well, especially if you're not taking tires and full fuel.
What are we at? 13 seconds in the next gen?
Well, the real stops are going under 10 if they don't have to fill it up and completely with fuel.
I get nervous now watching the races on Sundays. You'll see the pit stop time down there at the bottom left, and you'll see like 9.1, 9.2s, and you're like, is that going to be a loose wheel?
Lucas Oil Speedway, Barney has been rotated to face the correct direction, so they fixed it.
All right, he just wasn't having fun there, I guess.
And also, the heckling fan was ejected from the crowd, so you'll never see him on the service again.
Looks like they fixed some issues with Talladega with the wall logos. Maybe that's an update for the broadcast, possibly.
Yeah, it looks like mostly graphics fixes on Talladega.
Man, that's already coming in a few weeks.
Yeah, don't tell Mike. He already knows.
Yeah, I already started stomping around, feeling cocky.
I saw you guys talking about this in chat right when I was heading home from work, actually. So it looks like we're getting some redesign on the Ford Mustang.
Yeah, Ford, along with Tony Stewart, is introducing a new reign of racing ponies, which join the herd, bringing bold styles and advanced engines to the Ford performance family. I find this interesting a little bit. Granted, SHRs, they run Fords, but I believe his drag team runs Dodges, and there's a Ford dragster in the back of the photo. He's the one all the way in the top of the picture. But they put out a new Ford Mustang for the next gen, the body. They got a GT4, GT3, and that dragster in the back. Two other ones to the right that I'm not sure. The supercar, I believe, is one of them as well.
No EV car, huh?
No, they didn't. No, none of them. Actually, the production model, the 5.0, is supposed to be their most powerful 5.0 they've ever released, and it's naturally aspirated V8. So Ford is keeping the V8 alive. They're not going nowhere. All these other companies are dying and quitting and leaving Ford as the only car maker out there right now, American side.
Good for them.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Right now I run BMW GT4 and GT3, so I'm excited for the Fords. I always would watch, SRO, sports car racing, and whenever you get the Mustang out there, he was just a big beast running around with all the other all-wheel drive cars. So hopefully they can compete on a different level now.
All right. So what does this mean for iRacing? I mean, is Ford working with them, already for these cars,
I'm
next
sure.
gen,
Yeah,
and
I'm
then you
sure we'll get
said
the next gen
GT3.
scan. Yeah, we'll get the next gen scan for sure. But we better get the GT4 and GT3. I'm hoping for the best on that one. I mean, I think that bottom left picture in that thumbnail is the GT3. It looks nice. Let's get it.
It kind of looks like a Porsche when I initially look at it, but if you look closer, you can see.
Well, we don't have to go dive into it too much, but the NIS schedule is out because the Cup schedule's out, and I haven't looked it over, but there weren't really any major changes, I believe, right?
Yeah, nothing crazy.
Well, we
Still have
definitely
Bristol
have the
dirt.
addition. Yeah, we still have Bristol Dirt. We still have Indy Road. Coda's still on the schedule. Um, they 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 do have the Chicago Road Course or Street Course actually. That's been added to the season. Um, and then they have Auto Club like in week 2 or 3, I think it was. And would that be the short track at that point?
Now, one more year with the 2 mile, and then they'll go to the short track.
So I gotta buy Chicago.
Well, you don't have to. You could skip that week.
You might want to actually.
Well,
Another cool
I
thing,
traditionally run this series. I'm not gonna stop, If it's a points race, I'm gonna run it and get some points.
and you guys talked about it last week. I heard having the All Star race at North Wilkesboro is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mentioned last week I'd like to see it as a special event like the Clash was, a preseason special event for iRacing. So I'm sure it's going to be a fun format potentially. The trucks are going to North Wilkesboro.
Well, if they don't jump on that, maybe we could try to host something. Who knows? Because that's always an off week for us.
Well,
We could do
I would hope. Sorry, Dave. I was thinking, with how involved iRacing was with bringing that track back, maybe they would do something special. I don't know.
Okay, podcast housekeeping. We've had a problem with Apple Podcast 2 weeks now in a row. Um, the show not showing up for 4 or even 5 days after we publish. I've contacted Apple. I've contacted SoundCloud, our host. It appears SoundCloud is the source of the problem. On their support page, they have a big banner across the top. Hey, we're aware of podcast issues with Apple. Our engineers are working on it, something like that. So, regardless, we're aware of the issue. Not sure we're going to react or do anything about it. We're just going to hope that SoundCloud and Apple figure out their problems, and we'll be back in business. So don't be afraid to tell Apple about it on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to rate our show and find it makes it easier for other drivers to find us. Check out our Discord, our website. We're also in regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network and the Sim Racing channel on Roku TV.
All right, Brian, how'd it go for fantasy this week?
Well, taking top spot in the fantasy was Mud Dog. S Ross LX 1986 was second. Stuart Haas, fantastic, is third. And Donnie actually is the top Tifosi in fourth place. Congratulations there, Donnie.
That was a good week. If I had been paying attention in stage one, I should have been P2 this week, but sometimes I'm behind in my watching on the broadcast, and I don't have enough time to realize that and realize stage one's already ended, and I'm like 10 laps behind. But yeah, pay attention. You actually do better.
It's Tony Groves wasn't paying attention this week.
Yeah, I saw that too, Mike. Tony never finishes that low. He was way down there.
You 25th.
Same with Greg. He was 33rd. He's dropping like a stone in the overall standings.
I'm right where I usually am, 37th.
Are you trying to score that low every time?
I think I
It's
asked
like
that.
I pick and then I don't touch it for 4 or 5 weeks.
That's probably the problem. And having Kurt Busch and not updating your picks isn't helping.
That's a good point.
Yeah, at one point I had Kurt Busch was the only driver. There was all the other ones were blank.
Now I wonder if they are keeping his window banner on. Does that count? I know if you get Ty Gibb points for Kurt Busch points.
Well,
Or next
you
year,
can actually pick Ty Gibbs right now, and I actually picked him as one of my 5.
well, next year, can you get Tyler Reddick points when Kyle wins?
That'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Who's leading the points?
So at the top of the leaderboard overall is Louder Racing over top of Oh Baby 44 in second, and W Ray J is third. It's about a 60 some odd points lead for Louder, so not a bad little cushion to have, but still a lot of racing to go. Greg is still the top Tifosi guy in 8th place. We had Bobby Jonas is in 14th. And those are the top 2 guys from Tifosi in the top 15 there.
So are you looking for that next sim racing upgrade? Or maybe your man cave needs a little bit more style, or is your wife wanting to redecorate your home? Well, here we have it, Supreme. Well, we here at Supreme 3 Printing have you covered. We create and print tons of different and useful items that are sure to fit everyone's style and budget. If you don't see what you're needing, then feel free to contact them or us with your needed item. So check us out at Etsy, etsy.com/shop/Supreme 3D Printing. And we're going to jump right in with another Sim Coaches video. And it's Sim Coaches, they have a video of the top PC sim racing that they have available. Donnie, I didn't get a chance to watch this one. Have you looked this one over?
Yeah, it's just Lawrence going over the build and what's inside. They're using Intel cards with NVIDIA graphic cards. Their computers come water cooled, and Corsair RAM sticks. Everything comes with a lifetime warranty, which I'm assuming is just don't mess with it. And if it doesn't break on your negligence, then they're gonna cover your parts for you. Not too sure 100% how that would work being third party, but they're gonna put their lifetime warranty on it. But yeah, he's designing it for sim racing. I remember we watched a video a couple months ago, and we all questioned what would make it sim racing specific. But I think heat is a lot of his component here, negating the heat. But yeah, they're just building their own. They have different levels of the PCs, but yeah, if you want a purpose-built PC for sim racing, Sim Coaches is offering one.
Well, I think you could say it's built for sim racing based on his component selection choices.
Speed, the RAM was important to him.
Well, and make and model. I mean, what he's actually picking, the case and why he picked it and why he went with Intel, why he went with this and that, and he kind of goes over that. I mean, obviously Lawrence is spilling the beans. I mean, he's literally giving his part list out. So it would be real easy for somebody to just take that and build it. But the neat thing about what they're offering is, how much more are you paying for him to build it, to give you that warranty? I mean, there's got to be a huge value there, to be able to say, man, my computer's not even booting. What do I do? And you have somebody to call and help you.
And with their service using Discord, I mean, if you have any little problem, you can message him personally on the side. You could text him. You can get into the group chats on their Discord. Everybody helps each other out. It's actually a fantastic community. So yeah, if you bought one of these computers and you had some issues or some problems, you can easily just hop on and probably get an answer really quick.
We're going to stay right in the family, and I did give this one a watch. It's the question to whether you want standard or inverted, and he just kind of goes back over the advantages of both. And I think it's kind of funny that some people want the inverted but still want their gas pedal on the floor. I run the standard, but it's just kind of the way that I sit in my chair, especially with not being terribly tall. It still feels like I'm pushing an inverted brake. If you watch, you can watch my stream and basically see that my foot's kind of pretty much floating on the brake and just resting on it. I don't even have to rest my heel on the ground. But it's a good watch.
Yes, I'll be inverting mine. So if you buy the inverted kit, you're good to go. If you bought the standard kit and want to invert them, they have 2 brackets you need to purchase for each the clutch and the brake, because that the nipple of the bleed valve, when you flip them upside down, will hit the plate you're mounting to. So they have to lower the cylinder itself to be able to invert them. But I did see the video. One with the 2 were inverted and the throttle was regular, but I don't know, to each their own on that part. But I think the rig he has that you test out in the shop, I think all 3 are inverted. Now that can't recall. I know the clutch and brake for sure were, but yeah, he just goes over the pros and cons to each and what could be better for certain situations and maybe what kind of car you're driving.
I specifically just remember when I drove the Ferrari a lot. If you look down with VR, you could see that they were floor mounted pedals.
Yeah, and the Cup car is floor mounted now. As last week's video, he had a pair of RFK pedals in there that you can definitely were mounted to the floor of a car.
So I have always been drawn to inverted pedals because I think my personal SUV, my Ford Expedition, is inverted. Um, and I don't know. I mean, when I went to buy them, I mean, they just look cooler and they had a really good mounting system, and so I went with inverted, and I've been super happy with it. It's the way that the pedal moves when you push on it. I mean, I'm sure it's very similar versus, coming from the plate up or inverted as far as how the foot is moving, but is the pivot at the top or the pivot at the bottom?
It actually feels, having tested their inverteds out, I don't want to say a lot different, but you can definitely feel it almost feels more natural. Like you're saying, your car, I'd say natural to what you're used to, not necessarily natural to racing, but natural to what you're used to with the pedal hanging and you just depressing the pedal that way. That's how I thought of it when I was using them in shop compared to being mounted here.
I guess what does make the floor mount seem so much closer for me is every other pedal that I had, all of the load celled ones were way leaned back, whereas the brake and clutch I have are basically straight up. So when I push, especially with as little travel as there is on the brake, I can't really tell where the pivot point is because it's almost all pressure and no travel. All right, our second, or actually probably our third Sim Coaches commercial is over. Let's move on to the Camis rig. Have you checked this one out, Brian?
Yeah, a little bit. So this is from Sim Legends. They have their new Camis profile aluminum rig. It's an 80/20 style rig. Not your standard looking rig though. Typically, you see the posts that come up off of the base for your to mount the wheel is typically straight up and down. Well, these are kind of A-framed type of system. So they have a unique design as far as that goes. It comes with a nice mouse tray or a tray on the right hand side to mount your shifter or anything like that. Or it could be a mouse pad or anything you want. Um, but as opposed to a lot of the rigs you see typically with these, um, they have the plates that connect one piece to the other rather than connecting together. So that might make a little bit more of might have a little bit more adjustability to it. I'm not sure. It might actually be a little bit less, but
Well,
it's
80/20
just a
rigs are
different
usually
style.
80/20 rigs are usually connected with these little corner bracket connectors, right? L-shaped
Right.
kind of corner bracket connectors. And that's going to give you some extra stability with the triangle, but it's going to it's a little bit more metal because you have it coming from both directions instead of just the one direction.
Well, everything that's on the A-frame is held together by the metal plates, because of the angles. Like you said, they're not right angles, so the little um, thing that David's referring to that you usually put in the corner of a right angle, you can't really do. So that's how they overcame that. Imagine Next Level Racing Elite, which has got that angle on it, but with bracing. That's what this is. It's got like great bracing to brace that angled upright. It's got that angle going down at the other direction. At an angle, it's got a crossbar that goes across for your shifter or your mouse. I love this. I mean, if this was a choice when I was purchasing, man, I'd be looking at this. Now, the website that this Instagram points to, I couldn't actually find the product for sale, even though the Instagram post says, 5% discount, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
that triangle shape always is one of your most sturdy frames. That's why you see them in bridges all the time.
I think that's why I like it. This looks really solid. It looks like Sim Labs, but like maybe even a better design.
It looks like a 4-inch, maybe a 3.5-inch side rail. So I think what you have, Mike, is a 6-inch rail. So this will be a little smaller. I don't see the seat rails though. The seat rail extrusion that you would mount your seat to. Unless it's
Yeah,
an
I mean they left that off, but you could add it easy enough. Yeah, I don't know where you can buy this, okay? So first time I've seen it, they say it's Camis. Remember, Camis is known for their direct drive. I think it's the one with the colored buttons on the front of it, and then we heard about a heat sink problem with it recently.
Yeah, their rig looks to be a little bit better quality than their wheel rim. And would you attach a wheel rim to this setup here?
Well, I mean, it looks like it doesn't have a side mount really, but perhaps a flat mount, a bottom mount.
Yeah, Donnie, I think you're kind of right. I don't see nothing in these photos that we see give a really good way to mount, like one of the bigger heavy duty direct drive weight bases,
You'd have to
just
modify
just
this,
that
right?
single bar. Something's going to have to be a little different.
Maybe it's
Good
compatible
point.
with their DD that they have.
Well, that's also one of the things you get when you're dealing with an Instagram post. If you can't find all the other information on the website, is you don't know what additional units they have. Like when you order a SimLabs rig, um, you have to get the specific side mount for whatever drive you're going to have. Uh,
Right.
so this may be the case, is that they're just not showing any particular drive, so you don't see what kind of mounting options there are on this particular post.
They gave a link, and it has Camus products for sale, but I couldn't find that particular item.
Yeah, maybe it's a prototype and it's coming soon, or more details to come.
All right, Mike, it looks like Huskinville's upgrade kits are back.
Yeah, they announced that upgrade kit for the classic Sim Pedals Ultimate is back in stock. This kit contains the main technical enhancements as seen on our latest Sim Pedals Ultimate Plus, including the Smart Control software. So if you have the Ultimates this is the way to get a nice little upgrade.
All right, Mike. It's sort of tube. It's sort of a motion rig. So have you looked at this little Instagram hit from Monkey Driver?
Yeah, I have a Monkey Driver is we've talked about their rig before. It's a tubular rig that's kind of formula style. The seat looks it's really thin pad. It doesn't look too comfortable, but now what's happened is they've put it on D-box style motion, and they got it on a four post, two on each corner, and they're basically showing off their motion platform that attaches to their rig.
You mentioned the seat. Almost every Formula seat kind of looks like that. Have you ever noticed they don't really have particularly thick padding? And because you're basically almost more laying down, so your pressure's a lot more evenly spread out.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the motion, but I've been seeing these rigs from time to time on Instagram and whatnot. But this wouldn't be a terrible secondary Formula rim if you wanted to get out of your typical GT style rig and get into something else. I can't remember if they were costly or not, but it just looks like something, if you had the room and obviously the money to have a second rig. I think it's kind of cool. Does IndyCar lay down as much as the F1 guys do?
Yes.
Yeah, so this would be cool.
And in fact, the prototypes you're laid back quite a bit too. If you've ever looked it's one of those things you learn if you're in VR. You can look down and just see that the body is not sitting in a normal GT position. It's really leaned back.
Yeah, that makes sense. They got those longer nose areas.
So $1,079 for the regular rig without motion. It looks solid. If you go to the website, you'll see a DD1 mounted to it. It looks like it's got a place to purposely mount a heavy wheel, unlike the other one we were just talking about. It's got a place for to mount your pedals and tubular, but looks like it doesn't have any play. It looks like it's rock solid. But yeah, it doesn't show on the website how much the motion is.
Yeah, when you're running Formula cars, you'd have your wheel would be all your buttons, so you wouldn't really need a whole lot of dash components. You wouldn't need a shifter component because it'll be on your wheel. So something simple like this would be pretty effective.
And the next thing we have is we were just speaking about Camis a little bit earlier. We've got a Camis DD review, Donnie.
Yeah, so this may be the same guy that did the last week's video about the overheating and his fix. But Sim Racer Corner, he reviews it again. The Camis for $499, the 15 Newton meter wheelbase from Camis. And he basically titles his videos, "Sorry, it's cheap for a reason." So he might not be having the most fun with his review process with this wheel. And honestly, even the rim that it comes with looks kind of toy grade to a degree.
I just think having those buttons behind the wheel is dumb. I mean, who is ever really going to reach behind your Formula wheel, or even really your oval wheel that far inside to get to a button?
He shows off some of the mounting challenges. There's these little brackets that you have to screw into the side of it. Um, Much like an 80/20 slot where it's got a T-nut, and he's just trying to line it up into the right hole and this and that. Looks like it was a challenge.
What does he discuss about the quick release, Mike?
I watched this without sound actually, so I didn't get to see this one.
Yeah, it looks like he puts an aftermarket one of those Apex quick releases on the lever with that clamp.
For the price, and we have another one later in the show around this price, I think that one's going to be a better unit. So we'll talk about that later.
For this price, $499, we had what Moza a couple weeks ago that had the whole bundle for $6, I believe, and they forgot what their little motor did. I think it did 20 Newton meter. Their little mini R9 or R5 they called it.
Yeah, and then later we're talking about the Sim Magic Alpha Mini, which I believe is 600, and the Sim Pit really liked it. That's the one Tony has, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. And I haven't heard anything really bad about that wheel when we get to it.
He
Well,
had a lot
Tony
of
would have
positive
told
things to
us.
say. Yeah, and he had a lot of. Tony was pretty much their cheerleader last week, so he's been pretty happy with it. You guys know what the real question is, though, right? To glove or not to glove?
You guys wear gloves?
I do. Thought I was going to save my wheel, my Anatech wheel, Alcantara. I heard all the horror stories, how it wears off and gets hard and this and that. And so I wear gloves every single time. But guess what? The Alcantara is still hard and pushed down, and I don't think it really made a difference.
Yes. Sim Racing Arms ask why and what type of gloves and what he uses for sim racing. So he just has workout gloves and they're fingerless. I cut the fingers off my gloves because I like to push buttons when I'm. But yeah, he had all the same reasons you had to take care of the wheel rim and stuff like that.
The gloves I use are very much like what he has on his video. They're a different color, but they're weightlifting gloves that I got at Target. They're built or made for weightlifting. Apparently, they're fingerless gloves and still allows you to have your fingertips free, but give you some padding as you grip the wheel.
Yeah, actually, I watched that video. He actually is wearing cycling gloves, not weightlifting gloves. There's a little difference in how the
Right.
padding is on them. The
Yeah.
cycling glove he has a padding right where your almost where your palm is, as opposed to weightlifting gloves have more padding across where a bar would go. Um, but they're both very similar, fingerless gloves, um, and I fingerless gloves are a good idea, especially if you're using buttons. So much you get a lot better feel for the buttons, especially if you're in VR and that feel is really important. You're not actually looking at the buttons you're pressing; you're kind of feeling around for them. That being said, I have a pair of Alpine Star gloves that are full fingered, but and they work fine for me.
All right, David, what are you doing?
No gloves. Yeah, I mean, I've got workout gloves that I use for workout. So, um, I just like having the feel on the car. I guess it's never felt necessary.
Yeah, I don't know how necessary it is. I have some Harbor Freight work gloves that I cut the tips off of, but wearing those for so long and then starting a race without the gloves on feels a little goofy, so I have to quickly put them on. But yeah, I don't think it's too necessary because, like Mike's saying, I just took a look at my wheel and my leather's all squished down in spots I grip it, so it didn't really save nothing.
Yeah, I'm used to it at this point. If like you said, I race without them, it doesn't feel right. So that's pretty much why I'm wearing them now. And I think they do maybe help with calluses. Sometimes, even after last night, which was a long 4-hour race almost, um, I had a callus a little bit, below my middle finger on my palm, and it's from gripping the wheel too tight. And I'm sure the glove helps protect that a little bit. Like it would probably be worse if I didn't have the glove.
Not to mention you run pretty high force feedback too, so that might help a lot
Right.
with that too.
You got a tight grip on that baby.
Well, with the next gen car, the steering feels like driving like mashed potatoes is how the force feedback feels. It's mashed potatoes, and I turn it up to 100% when every other car I run at 80. But with that car, even at 100%, I don't have a feel in the steering.
All right, this next one is interesting. We've got a new, I guess, online coaching option, and it's basically live AI coaching, right? Scott Mansell of Driver 61 YouTube channel. He's built and developed a sim racing driver development app. And the quote from the website says, "We've spent years coaching thousands of drivers from the sim to F1, and we've taken all that knowledge and created an app that gives you a powerful path to interact, and that interactively teaches you how to actually unlock your ultimate pace 1 week at a time." And I'm glancing at the site, and I can't really see if it's specifically for a specific sim or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I like this guy's YouTube channel. He's not related to Nigel Mansell, but he is a European fella. His YouTube channel is Driver 61, and he'll analyze certain situations, a lot of formula style racing. Very articulate, just a great channel to watch for explanations on things. But just cruising the site, that trophy.ai, I may give this a go in the wintertime when I race more road, just to see what it's like. Has a lot of possibilities, and if something like this could be real and actually beneficial, it'd be pretty awesome. And I think it says free, I believe. I don't know if I saw that from the website. No, it's not in our script, but I want to say it's free.
Yeah, to get started, it's free.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's probably got some introductory stuff, and then you pay for more features. It's not released yet. They will be releasing the new apps shortly. You can join the wait list for first access.
So this one screenshot on the website looks so cool. It says live on track AI coaching. Learn while you practice. Our overlays and AI provide you with real time guidance to improve your pace. And they show you driving in iRacing, down the road here, and there's a pop-up that says next lap focus, sector 1, try braking 20 meters later in turn 1. Sector 2, hit the apex, accelerate earlier, and it tells you specifically what you should try and what you were missing.
Is there anything out there like this? Has there ever been anything like this?
Not to this AI level. The does it in one-on-one human contact up to a pretty good degree, and they'll give you specific details like that. They go over telemetry with you and show you what you're doing different and where you can make the best time up the quickest.
But for that, I imagine you have to set a date and time for something like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be any time of the day or night that you wanna check it out.
I can't find anywhere that says specifically what service it's for. Are we just assuming it's iRacing?
I guess we are. Yeah, it doesn't say specifically, but
Well, is that the Radical that he's sitting in? And is that actually the iRacing just right
it
across the
sure
top
looks
of the
like
number?
iRacing.
Doesn't that look like iRacing upside down there, what the car number is?
Yeah. And we've talked about this guy before, he offers one-on-one coaching for iRacers, and so that's a service he's done before. But this new app he's got, or software, it certainly looks promising, and yeah, we definitely need to follow up with this.
Are you guys familiar with the YouTube channel, Driver 61?
I've seen it a couple times, like we've talked about him on in the past. Yeah,
Yeah, it's actually really good and very informative, and his video breakdowns and done at a high level.
yeah, like how to road race, how to apex, how to, that kind of thing.
For years, I thought he was Nigel Mansell's son, just based off name. And he used to be a driver up to some formula level, then obviously stopped. But now it looks like he just trains drivers.
All right, let's jump into a review. What do you guys know about the video with SimPit checking out the SimMagic Alpha? Both Mike and Donnie talking about this one.
Yeah, this is the wheel that Tony has. It's for sale for $569.95 without the quick release. With the quick release, $629.95. And the Sim Pit guy, I mean, he likes it. He thought it was, he goes through his normal review and he races it, and he thinks this is a great option for people that are moving up from a Logitech or from one of what we call the toy wheels, the Thrustmaster, the Logitech, and you want to get serious about sim racing. This is a great first step, and it's a step that Tony did when he decided to make the plunge.
Now, do we know if you could attach any? I'm looking at the front of their wheel mount, and it looks like you can almost put the ball bearing quick release onto it. But I'm curious if the wheels need to be proprietary. Do you need a SimMagic wheel to work with this?
I think the wheels are proprietary.
Yeah, they are. That's actually one of Sean Cole's negatives about this, was that the proprietary wheels are required for this. Although, when SimMagic first came out, they had a pretty limited line of selection of wheels, but they are growing quite a bit with what they have available.
That's true. They have some good ones that wouldn't make you second guess the decision, but again, like if you're like me and you want to buy, the cube controls from Italy, the one that, the F1 driver uses, you got to have a base to put it on. And if, there's no way to do it on this one, then yeah, you might consider that.
Yeah, the Formula wheel's decent looking. It's $789, the SimMagic FX Formula Extreme Pro. And they got some lower end Formula wheels as well.
One of the things that Sean mentions in this review, Mike, that you would be interested in, as there's no flex in the shaft at all. It's got a nice, cool, quick release, and just no flex.
Yeah. And a small package. It's not a big box. 10 Nm is the power.
All right, we have an announcement from Grid, which is by SimLab Ltd, and they're proud to announce a 3-year official licensing agreement with Porsche. They're known for high-end products, and they're introducing the new Porsche 911 RSR Sim Racing Steering Wheel as the first product of several that they're going to carry officially for Porsche branding. And that's a Porsche GT wheel, right? You got 2 sets of pedals. There might even be a third set. I can't tell up there, and a lot of easy to reach thumb buttons. It's a nice rim. I don't see the pricing because it's just an Instagram announcement.
Yeah, it looks actually really
I'll
good.
guess 1,500.
It's got to be about the same as the
Easy.
Gomez, right? It's in that range.
At least Gomez doesn't have the have to pay for the Porsche licensing and stuff like that either.
Right.
I
Right.
think this is going to be pushing 2K.
You're right. It's a high quality wheel for sure, and it's comparable to the Gomez and some of the other high end wheels we've talked about.
2,500.
There you go.
Let's
I
talk
mean,
about
it
this
looks
company.
real.
It looks real. You could put it in a real race car, right? Uh, the other day, Donnie, you and I were talking about where would you buy a SimLab P1X, and I told you about a company I bought mine from out of Canada called Grid Engineering. And so I had bought my entire rig from them and was going to recommend them to you, but I went to look for them on the internet and I forget that they're gone. They've been bought by SimLab actually, and so they've been renamed Grid by SimLab. And so this is one of those products. And so basically, SimLab is trying to get into all kinds of different sim hardware, including Formula wheels and other things, but they're going to sell them under this other banner called Grid by SimLab.
Yeah, it looks like they're going after the higher end market, if that's the case. $2,500 for the wheel.
I'd love to see the numbers on how many of those sell, you know, in that price range. That'd actually be a really interesting, just out of curiosity, as kind of a numbers nerd.
Well, if you look at the biz that Gomez has put together, I mean, he's got multiple people putting wheels together every single day. I mean, he's got people full time doing it. Like he's churning out, I would guess, at least a dozen wheels, every 2 weeks or something. But he's got places to put them. They got the micro centers, where they're selling them off the shelf, and then he's obviously shipping them all over. But it's an ongoing thing, so I imagine he's selling a lot of them.
But it's not going to be the same kind of volume as your lower end price stuff. So I'm, it's definitely got to be one of the things that does push the price up when you have something that's so much more hand built, basically, almost.
Well, at some point, you're right. It is a small market, and at some point it'll saturate, right? Like everyone who's going to buy one of these, $1,500 wheels has already bought one. So like at some point you think that the sales volume will go down, it will dwindle.
All right, Donnie. It looks like Lawrence decided to take on the SimCube versus Fanatec argument.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did not watch this one today. Mike, did you get it?
I did. First I wanted to say Lawrence at Sim Coaches. I mean, he's blowing up YouTube. I mean, I think we had 3 of his videos on this show alone, but they're good stuff. I mean, he's putting up good stuff, and I love talking sim hardware. So I actually got into the comments on this YouTube video with him talking about my DD1 and what I thought of it, because he basically compared the two, the DD1, the SimiCube Sport, and the SimiCube Pro.
Pro.
Y-
Yeah.
y- Yeah, he talked about the Ultimate, but has never actually tried it. But among these 3 bases, he also indicated he's tried the DD2. He basically compares contrast, to each other. The DD1 is big and bulky. The SemiCube's a lot more leaner, smaller footprint. Um, Proprietary stuff of Fanatec versus SemiCube's more of an open platform. Those kind of comparisons. And really, after watching it, I was like, man, if I'm buying today, I'm getting the SemiCube. I'm going to buy the SemiCube Pro. And at the end of the video, that's what Lawrence actually recommends out of all of them. He said buy the SemiCube Pro.
Does he recommend the Pro over the Sport?
Yes.
Yeah, he
Okay.
did.
Curious, because when I was in the shop, we were talking about it because he's going with the SemiCube with his builds. He did have VRS for a while, then he went to the SemiCube. But he mentioned the differences between the Sport and the Pro. And I know there's like a decent price difference between the two, but he's essentially said you can't go wrong with the Sport as well if you went that route. I forgot how he described it, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but he said you couldn't go wrong with the Sport if you wanted to go that route as opposed to getting the Pro. And I heard somebody today on another forum talk about the Ultimate being like, you might not need that much.
It's overkill. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Ultimate's really, really expensive.
Yeah, it's a 30 Newton meter wheelbase, the Ultimate. That's a seriously strong deal.
Yeah, and he talked about the size of it compared to the Sport or the Pro, and it's not obviously twice as long, but it's almost comparable to the DD1.
The Pro and the DD1 are very comparable, yes.
Yeah, you mentioned his videos.
He's
just bringing a bunch out. He just wants to get as much out there as possible and start getting into people's algorithms and whatnot. We did talk about something when I was there, and I don't want to say it yet until I confirm with him what we talked about. But I think it's in the vein of that Driver 61 app, and that's where he wants Visor to end up. He wants Visor to end up in some kind of driver development application.
he talks in this video too about his project to create a wheel, base, a direct drive wheel base um, out of sim coaches, and what his vision of that is a little bit. You know, his vision is to build, basically a wheel just like what he's talking about, like the SemiCube Pro or the DD1, but put his flair on it. Like it's gonna look like the sim coach's pedals that he sells, or the sim coach's monitor mounts. And they're machined metal, real shiny silver. That's what I envision when he talks about it. Is it's gonna look outstanding.
Yeah, we talked about it. He said it's not going to be anything performance wise that's going to be significant over the SemiCube, but more to your point, Mike, and plus to keep it under the umbrella, keep under the sim coach's umbrella, and offer that lifetime warranty on his product. But yeah, he said it won't. It's not going to knock like SemiCube out of the park. It'd be real comparable to theirs, because there's, like you guys mentioned before in the past, there's only a few of these makers on the planet who make these midge motors. So he's obviously have to source that motor out from somebody, then put his, like you said, flair to it.
Well,
And they're
if you
strong
look
enough.
at that, go ahead, Dave.
They're strong enough already. I mean, 30, we already agree is kind of overkill. I don't remind as high as Mike, and you get any higher, and you start running into legit injury risk, whether it's from an acute strike or just overuse. I have actually gotten tendonitis from my steering wheel running a radical at an oval
Last
with
summer.
the power too high.
Yeah, he just wants the sim coach wheelbase, the wheel rim, which he should have out by Christmas time, he said. The pedals you obviously have. He's got the handbrake, and the next project will be the sequential shifter.
Yeah, he talked a bit about, if you look at the SemiCube Pro, there's a line that runs not through the middle of it, but about 3/4 back. The front part of that line is the motor. The back part of it is the encoder. And so the motor, like you said, he's got to source that from wherever. But the encoder is what he will design. He'll design his own encoder, his own, bias or software, whatever you want to call it, to run the motor. And so that's the big part of the project, is doing that encoder stuff, and then obviously how is it going to look physically.
I'm going to make a couple comments that he talked about in his video about the Fanatec stuff. For one, he did say that the new software for the Fanatec has actually improved the fidelity in it. You get a little bit better resolution coming through the wheelbase. So that was one of the things that he did mention. He kind of dinged Fanatec for having, all the proprietary stuff, but I don't see why that is a issue. I mean, like Mike, you have a Fanatec base, but you're not relegated to using Fanatec pedals or shifters. You got all kinds of different pedals and shifters. That's really not anything that's unusual from any of the other bases. That's just a second option that they have, where you can plug your pedals right into your base, or plug your shifter into the base, and just use one USB port on your computer to do it. So I didn't really see that was a serious any kind of issue. So yeah, that was just a couple of things he said about Fanatec that I'll slightly defend, I guess.
Well, in order for you to run a secondary wheel with Fanatec, you have to purchase their $200 podium hub. That's probably the main issue with it, because you have to have that talk and provide the force feedback. Other than that, with the SemiCube, you just attach a wheel to it with their quick release. So SemiCube has their own specific quick release. See how it's kind of got the wedge on the tip, and then you would put a reverse of that on the back of whatever wheel you want, and then it slides right down on top of it with like a cotter pin style that holds it in place.
Yeah, much better design in my opinion than the Fanatec with the rubber. I think I've finally figured out why I have play in my wheel, and it's that darn rubber is thick there, and when I push the wheel on, it doesn't fully engage over that rubber. Like I can get it almost like 80% there, 90%, but you just cannot push it that last little bit. And that means I can't screw the little screw into the little hole in the bottom. And I'm told if I do that, that removes the play. But I've never put that screw in it, even from the day one I've had the wheel, because I've never been able to get it all the way over the rubber. So I don't know if I just have a bad wheel or what, but that's how it's always been.
Well, we got one more, and we're going from rubber to wood. So, making vintage wheel racing art and wood turning. Did y'all check this one out?
I gave it a go. I used to build houses in a previous life. I love the smell of wood. This would excite me to build, but obviously this guy's got lathes and all kind of woodworking tools. But yeah, no, it looks good. Curious if it would work on a real car.
Yeah, he builds most of it via a lathe, which you mentioned, and it reminds me of my dad used to have a lathe in our garage, and we would make baseball bats out of, big dowels, like big thick wooden dowels, like you could put it in the lathe, and a few minutes later you got a baseball bat. And so I never thought of making a steering wheel, but it is possible if you do have the right piece of wood and the right chisels and everything. But when he cut out the center forks of the wheel, that was interesting. He kind of did some rough cuts, and then he had to smooth it out, and then lots of sanding and that kind of thing. At the end, though, the finished product looks great. I mean, he's got some stain on it, so it's kind of shiny, and it looks really good. I mean, in the center of the spoke, he's got, little grooves in a circle that, make it look like a real wheel, and yeah, I'm sure it would be nice to drive with.
Yeah, you could hook that up to like the podium hub or something like that if you have a Fanatec and make it work on that. I'm sure. That's pretty. It's a really beautiful thing. It's a piece of art, really, and I love watching those kind of shows. They used to have one on PBS where a guy just did wood turning projects, and you can sit down in there and just watch him turn stuff. It's kind of fun.
All right, let's talk results. The NASCAR iRacing series. Let's finish up Kansas Friday Open. I got wrecked out. A guy was losing it in the middle. I went around the outside to go around him, but he just barely clipped me. And I ended up with 29 seconds optional and 3.5 minutes required. And the car was just literally not drivable. Tony Rochette, P31. Just found myself in the wrong spot, wrong time. Wrecking car clips and sends me into the wall. Ends my day.
Yeah, I finished P19 in this. I ran with Kyle and Steven were in my split. I qualified Q4. Right behind me was Kyle. The start was good. We maintained up there with the leaders, I believe, until the second caution. After about lap 17, I believe the three of us pitted. For whatever reason, I restarted like 14th, and the car felt like all my tires were flat. About 3 or 4 laps into the run, I was within a pack, so I don't know if the airflow had a play onto that. I fell to the back, felt unsafe, so I was running about 25th. And we had a long 81 lap green flag run. We always like to talk about tire wear in our long runs. So I think I ended up with 47% on that 81 laps, and it had good long run speed. Kyle, he started 15th, gained 5 spots in the first lap, had a few quick cautions early. We started on lap 21, had a different pit strategy. Green flag stop around lap 80. That was the 80 lap runish we had. Came out 1 lap down, and in 21st, ran strong enough, getting back past the leader and driving away. Started picking off positions quickly with the freshest tires on the track. Got up to P7, and the caution comes out at lap 101. Pitted with the rest of the leaders on lap 113. Caution flies again, sitting P5. He decided to pit while the rest of the leaders stayed out. Came out of the gate conserving tires, and caution flies again. I stay out, and the restart got the lead. 12 to go. Battle for several laps with 5 to go. sitting P3, and the caution comes out. We go into green, white, checkered, and I tailed the leader on the restart and run him through 1 and 2, and staying a fender behind him. We take the white, and now P3 is working on me, and I just couldn't hold him. So I walk away with a P3 podium finish, still gaining iRating. So that was Kyle's race. He was fast. He stayed up front all day. I don't know what Steven was running behind me, and I thought, wow, I'm faster than somebody for a change. And then all of a sudden, one of our restarts, Steven just took off, and I don't know where he finished. He didn't put it on here, but he was definitely much faster than I was. But for whatever reason, for the majority of that, he stayed behind me. And then maybe he just obviously has been doing this well and knew when it was his turn to go. But yeah, don't see where he finished.
All right, Sunday Open, Tony Rochette, P14. Just couldn't figure this track out this year. Glad it's over. Kyle, he said, that's one bad race. Started P14 on a new setup. Car was loose and just dropped back fast. Got hooked on lap 11, took major damage. Pitted and fixed the damage. Came out 17 laps down and was way off pace, but was hoping to just take away any positions from those wrecked out drivers. It worked in my favor. I went from 35th to 24th. But I think Kyle brings up a good point. I mean, you get wrecked. The question is it worth staying out there and trying to see if there's going to be some attrition, and you won't get such an I-rating hit, and that's what he did.
I got wrecked out on this one. The car right in front of me got loose, and the car was crap anyway. I was running in the 20s and just couldn't get on even in the long run, just couldn't get up towards break the top 20 in this particular top split race. I did some work on the set and thought I had improved it from what I had run Wednesday, but I got on the track and it wouldn't turn. It wouldn't turn, and it would get snapped loose. So it was just not a good week at Kansas. I think I did okay and stole a decent finish on Wednesday, but definitely didn't feel great there.
All right, Sunday fixed. I ran with Tom Dreiling. He got a P3, and I got a P23. There were a bunch of early cautions, and one guy was a common denominator. I ended up getting involved in 2 of his cautions for 8x with 13 minutes damage. Ouch. I got it all repaired. I went back out there and ran it around and finished P23. I was determined to finish ahead of that guy who had caused all that. Um, Eventually, he wrecked himself out, and I finished ahead of him. But it was one of those things. I was just trying to save iRating. Now, before I got wrecked, I was fast and like Tom was, and we were driving up through there. And again, it was kind of like Tom was like, it's redemption for all week in open. We've just been junk, and then we come to fixed, and yeah, we can drive. It's not like we forgot how to drive. It was the set. It really gave us some insight that it wasn't us, it was the set. All right, Wednesday Open, Bristol. This is the long race. David wrecked out.
Yeah, we can call this one the ultimate choke. I did get caught up in an early wreck with about a minute and a half of optional, but it didn't really do anything to the car. It was still really good. And then we had a long run, and I worked it all the way back up. And the next thing I know, I'm in the lead, and I'm like, so I just had insane long run speed. And was being smart and just being patient and making sure that the car would come to me. By the time that caution came out, we had put where I had put, I think everybody but 12 cars on the lead off the lead lap, and had about an 8-minute lead. A couple of cautions later,
8-second lead.
that's right. Did I say
You said
8
8 minutes.
8 second?
Couple of
Cautions later, we restart all kind of on the same cycle, and I let one of the guys get by me, thinking it's going to be easy to get back by him when the tires get warm. But he kind of showed how hard it is to pass, even when you've got the better car. And that actually started to get into my head a little. I kept pressuring until he made a mistake, got the lead back, and started pulling away again. Another caution, and I'm trying to make adjustments on the setup. And I'm not accustomed to being the leader when the cautions come out, especially at Bristol or Martinsville or something like that. And I missed the pits. Luckily, there was only 8 cars on the lap, but I let it get in my head, and I'm trying to pass. There's only 100 laps left at this point, and I'm trying to get it all back in the first 20 laps and get loose and hit the inside wall and race over.
And I said it in the chat, David. You were in control of that race. I mean, had that big gap, and you were confident and cocky that you could keep it or build it again if needed. I mean, you were in a really, really good spot to win that race.
Yeah, but it got shook when I had so much trouble passing that guy. Uh, that made me nervous about the short run. Really, I was just really afraid that we were going to have a short run, and I was going to get and so. Uh, what really disappointed me was that we still had 100 laps left. I should have stayed in long run mentality. I switched to short run mentality too soon, and that was really where I screwed up.
All right. So you weren't the only one who wrecked out. Tom Dreiling, Adam Jocelyn, Stephen, Lou Allen, all wrecked out early. I was the only one to finish. I was the last one left in TeamSpeak. I was still talking in there. I didn't even know if everyone had left or what, but I was the only one left. My race, I started 19th. I got involved in a caution lap 3, not too much damage, but was trapped a lap down and was going to have to take a wave around. So me and about 6 cars who were involved, we had stopped on the track, we're turned around, all that. We get, to the pace car and it won't let us buy the pace car. So, okay, we're going to be trapped a lap down. The leaders are lining up behind us. So it looks like 100%, we're going to come to the 1 to green and we're going to get a wave around. Guess what? No wave around. We get the 1 to green. It looks like, we're going to start the race as the leaders, and the real leaders are going to be behind us. And that's what happened. We go green. There's 5 or 6 lap cars in front of the leaders, and we race. Later, a few laps later, another caution comes. I'm not the lucky dog. Dang it. So I stay out. We get another caution at lap 50, and I'm like, man, I really, really need to get this lap back. I need tires, but I'm going to stay out one more time. And it gave us the wave around. I don't know why it didn't initially, but I was able to get back on the lead lap. I got another caution after that and was able to get on the same tire strategy. Driving forward from there, um, I'd get up to around fifth, and I was pretty good down on the inside. Uh, but then I would spin on my own, and I had 4.5 minutes damage. I lost 3 laps. So the speed was still good. I continued on. Now this was key, David, because I was going to park it. I spun down to the end. I had a meatball. I'm thinking, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I pull it in. I think I said like 30 seconds required, 3.5, 4.5 minutes optional. And you said, that's doable. Stay in it. And I did. And it worked out good because the speed was still good. I got into another wreck that I couldn't miss. That brought me to 6 minutes damage, and I was still 3 laps down. But as the race wore on and attrition gradually increased and increased, I worked my way up, and by the end of the race, I was P4, 3 laps down. I'll frickin' take it, P4.
That's crazy. 500 laps will do that for you, though, hopefully. Looks like Tony ran today, the noon race. He finished P2. Said it was a heartbreaker, and the last Great Coliseum was definitely the fastest car as he led 87 laps and stayed top 3 all day. Wrong pit strategy and a yellow coming out just before he was about to unlap himself from a green flag stop. He would have gained 3 laps in 20-lap run. Got lucky dog in third, so started behind the lappers and not enough time to make it up front. So close yet so far.
P2, wow. So he got a P2, I got a P4. I'm going to race tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to beat a P4, but man, I mean, with 6 minutes damage and 3 laps down, David, first of all, I'm really glad you talked me into staying in that race.
Well, I had an A open where I had done the same thing. I got like 30 seconds of damage, fixed it, and by the time I got all the damage fixed, I think I got back on the lead lap and came in ninth in that A open. It wasn't the one that we're going to talk about soon, but yeah, that if it's that quick and you only lose a lap or two, you can stick with it because this damage model, um, if the wheel will drive straight, the then you're going to be okay.
All right, let's talk A Open, David. You ran Monday night and it ended up being a practice Coke race.
Pretty much. So we're going to call this the Diet Coke race. All right. So hashtag my first Diet Coke race. I mean, I've been in a few of these before where there was a few of them, but I hopped on and I saw the strength of field and just shit a brick because it was 6,300.
And
That's
you're
the
the
average.
last car
That's
number,
the
right?
average. I'm the last car number at just 3,700, and there's 13 pros in there. Okay. So I went ahead and qualified though because I wanted a good pit stop, and I think I qualified 18th. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't on the backside in case I had to fix damage. And it was a neat chance to see how I would do. I would always and this the long run speed would really show up because I was slow on the first 30 laps, but as the leader would get to near lapping me, like it would be Garrett Maines or a couple of the other guys who before he got towards the front, they'd get to about 3 seconds behind me, showing up red on the relative, and then they stopped gaining on me. Um, so once we got 30 to 40 laps in, I actually started catching back up to the leaders. They just had that much to go. Now, the first long run, I pass a car. I'm trying to pass a car that I catch that's 2 laps down, and we don't get along so well. And he doored me, put me, and I saved it. No caution come out, but I come back up into the traffic about probably seventh or eighth in line. A couple of the pros didn't like that I kept racing, trying to get back up to the to the lucky dog position, but I was maintaining pace with them and holding my lines and I didn't cause the caution. I was nowhere near what caused the caution. Caution comes, I take a wave around, it pays off because the second lap down idiot takes up a pro later. All right, not going to name his name because we don't do that. Then we have I get the lucky dog with that, I believe. And we have an 80 lap run to the finish. Again, Garrett runs me down to about 3 seconds of within lapping me. And then I actually start passing cars and drive from 21st to 15th on that 80 lap run in that top split with 13 pros. I had a shot at 11th, well, including one of the pros that was up in that group that was still in the race. As there was 5 of us that were all packed up and they were battling right in front of me and I couldn't really neither lane was really available to make a pass unless I wanted to try to force 3 wide. But yeah, that was pretty exciting, and I'll take that as a moral victory, getting stuck in that kind of race.
Well done. Yeah, we have a great long run car this week, as you stated. So well done. I also ran an official F2000 at Summit Raceway. Started P8 out of 13. I got to P6 near the end of the first lap, but on that final corner of the first lap, I spin it and tore off that left front corner. Didn't even finish the lap. Uh, Kyle, he ran a bunch of the Mazda Global MX-5s. I forgot how much fun these cars are. A lot of P2 finishes trying to save his A license. And I think that was at the new free track that they just released in the release. I always forget the name of it.
Now I forgot to put it in, but we all three of us ran a few of the hosted races on Saturday night, right? Who runs those? Chris McGuire.
Well, we have it down later in the script here, David. So let's talk league racing. Fast track league B15. I was running like crap. I was dead last and really not up to pace. As I mentioned before, the set was not great that week. Green flag stops started to happen. I stay out and actually ended up catching a caution before pitting and caught the lucky dog. So I ended up P9, starting. I was going to be starting ninth, coming to the one to green. But there were a bunch of wave arounds because the caution came in the middle of the green flag stops. And so the admins decided to arbitrarily throw a delay to the green flag to, quote, let everyone catch up, all these wave arounds easily. But guess what? That puts me as the lucky dog from a starting spot of ninth to now 21st. Because the delay of the green, I have to actually let all those wave arounds by and start behind them. So I wasn't happy. I called out over the radio. Totally unfair. I'm given really no explanation. No sorry, no nothing. I have to go to the tail end. I got other drivers in there arguing that, you know what, you would have to let them by anyway. And I'm like, are you serious? And so like there's an argument going on the radio about it. But anyway, I go to the back and so we go again. Same thing happens. A green flag cycle starts. I stay out. I actually catch a caution in the middle of green flag stop. I ended up P6. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to have a great finish here. Once again, 10 on the lead lap. And they end up, and there were a bunch of wave arounds. So they delay the green flag again. And I call out over the radio. Now, I'm not the lucky dog that has to give up a bunch of spots this time, but I still think it's unfair. And I tell them because I'm in, these top 10 that are in the top 10, they don't have to race the wave arounds because they're all spread out coming around to the green. Well, if the admin delays the green, they get to pack up right behind us and then we have to race them. So it changes the outcome of the event, in my opinion. Now, I was slow and I was thinking, boy, if I can hold off these wave arounds, I'm going to have a top 10 here. But I couldn't, because I was slow and they were starting up right behind me. I couldn't hold them off, and I ended up, you know, basically fading back. But anyway, this is why I don't like lead. Is you know, an admin pushes a button. It wasn't meant to screw me. I understand that. It wasn't about me, but there are always unintended consequences when an admin pushes a button. And so I just think leagues should not touch any of that stuff. They shouldn't clear flags. They shouldn't do nothing because there's always somebody who's gonna it's not a fair advantage.
Or at least if you do, you got to know, you got to have a little bit of basic knowledge of how it's run in the real race, because the lucky dog does not go behind waiver rounds. It makes no sense for the ninth place car to suddenly have to start 21st.
Well, and the wave rounds would never catch up.
Well, in real races, they will sometimes send them around 2 laps early to make sure. They were at Nashville. They were sending them, the actual NASCAR stewards were sending them out around 2 laps early, but they still had to start behind everybody, including the lucky dog.
Yeah, they got to stay at the back.
The dog was all right. That's all. It's always been that way. A wave around is one step behind a lucky dog, and the only people who go behind them are penalty cars.
So anyway, I mean, I got an apology post race, from the admins about it. They had a discussion apparently. They're going to modify their rules to always let the lucky dog hold his spot if they delay the green and this and that and
So
whatever.
basically, Mike, you know what the weird thing is when I was reading that post? I don't know if you got this too. So they're going to manipulate that rule too, because they're going to tell you to stay in the spot that you're in and then clear a black flag when it gives everybody a black flag when they go back to green.
Right. Let's bend this rule to fix the other rule we're bending. I mean, the answer is to not delay the green. That's the answer.
You shouldn't, if you're taking the wave around is to, like most of the time a wave around is if you're trying to, either you've gotten off pit strategy and it kind of screwed you, or you're just trying to get that lap back that you seem to not be able to get back, and then kind of hope for a caution. It's not intended to help you out. Like, that seems like it really favored the wave around guys really, really well in that situation.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it during the race in the chat was, it'd be different if you did this every single race, every single time, you delayed the green. You know what? I'd be okay with that if it was written in the rules and you did it every time. But you only do it when there's a lot of waiver rounds. You don't do it when there's one or two waiver rounds. And so it sets up an advantage. This you're at a disadvantage if there's not a lot of waiver rounds, and if you're in this league, you're at an advantage if there's a lot of waiver rounds. So, yeah, I don't like that giving advantage stuff.
See, and I was trying to get in that race. I don't know if you noticed, Mike. I don't know if you could see it, but for some reason I was having an issue with iRacing that night, and I finally diagnosed it tonight because what was happening as soon as I would go into iRacing, it would put my CPU. I think it's what's the C bar on the screen, David? Do you remember? Anyways, whatever the C bar was, it was maxing it out, and it was crashing the sim. So it wouldn't let me. It wouldn't even show a ping for me. That's how bad it was, and I've diagnosed it today to, because I'm using Voice Meter Banana to split my audio, and I had one headset set in the wrong thing, and it was doubling up the headset or the signal going to the headset, and it was crashing the program for some reason, and I fixed it today, but it took me probably half an hour, 45 minutes to figure out that one thing got changed.
All right. Adam was running with me, and he ended up stopping and ending the race because he was too loose. He couldn't even hold it.
What the fuck is that?
Unofficial. This is, David, what you were talking about. I ran Mazda Cup at Rudd's Kogan Motor Center. I qualified P5 out of 19. I got ran over from behind in the first high-speed corner. I ended up dead last. I worked my way back up to 12th. Next race, qualified P8 out of 19. I had a few slowdown penalties, which really put me back, but I got up to P7. Week 13, David, you ran P1 twice in ridiculousness.
Yeah, this was pretty fun. It was changing tracks every week, but when I got it twice, it was in at a plate track, and they had the ARCA car, the Cup car, and the Indy car. The Indy cars were almost irrelevant because they would just blast by us on the apron while we were pack racing. They would just, so we would just see them kind of scream by like they were jets. Literally, but the ARCA cars and the Cup cars were equal. And so you could kind of team up with an ARCA car and not have to worry about turning on each other, because if you're pushing your P1 and you're pushing P1, who cares, right? So happened twice, worked out pretty well. And then I had chimed in. I went ahead and added it to the script because it wasn't on the script. So I didn't realize you had the Chris McGuire stuff there. But yeah, we ran it. I don't remember if I ran the Kias at Daytona or not. I think I might have. Did you? I don't remember if I was at one, but a race before that, they did a multi-class at Dega with the Porsche EV, and Kyle has that one as well as the trucks. I ran the truck, Kyle ran the Porsche EV, and we both came in P1. So it was a dual win for Tifosi on that one. It was pretty neat.
I think it's the first time that's happened where teammates have both finished first in the same race. Yeah, I missed that one. I ran the Kias at Daytona. I was wrecked out, but still finished ninth. And then the Radicals and the Lotus 79 were at the new free track, and I was also wrecked out on that one. All right, so let's jump to final thoughts. Brian McCubbin.
If you remember a couple weeks ago, I was telling you having some issues with iRacing with timing out during load up screen. So I wound up rebooting my whole computer, reinstalling Windows, reinstalling iRacing. I just got back to it this afternoon because I was gone last week, and wouldn't you know it, it's still doing the same thing. So I'm not sure what's going on. I put in a request to iRacing for tech support because I don't know why it's doing this. So still trying to figure it out, and we're going from there.
Is that the website or UI?
Well, if I go from the website, after you try to join a race, it gets that screen where it's trying to connect to or verify the server or verify the installation. Well, it just stays there until it times out. Now, if I do it from the UI and you click join a race, it just where it normally loads from 0 to 100%, it stays at 0% and doesn't move from 0%. So either way, it doesn't work.
Yeah, interesting. I seem to have UI problems with loading, so it only works 50% of the time, it seems like. So if I get any issues, I go to the website, load in from there. But on my end, it seems to be a UI problem where it won't load at all sometimes.
Brian, do you have any problems with any other sims or any other programs? Like, is it maybe a graphics problem, like a DX11 problem?
No, I raced. I played around with the American Truck Simulator, and I played with the Flight Sim, and didn't have any issues with any of those.
Can you take your PC over to Jesse's and just see if it'll load?
To others.
Tyler's, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I could do that. Yeah, I could try that, I guess.
That would eliminate network as the issue.
Right. It would. Yeah. I mean, I did speed tests and everything like that on my internet, and I'm not even using Wi-Fi. I'm using a landline directly from my router, and I'm getting decent speeds. So everything seems okay.
You can have
I wonder
good
if
speed.
your ISP is like blocking it. Like David says, try it on a different network.
Could be ISP, or it could be just a dirty signal. A dirty signal, even if you're getting good speeds, will cause a lot of timeouts and stuff.
Okay. I'll have to check
That's
into that
frustrating, I
stuff.
bet. Good luck.
Yeah, very much.
It's almost time. Like, is it time to build a new computer?
Yeah, but there's no guarantee that would fix it.
My computer's
That's
only
true.
a couple months old.
That's true.
Yeah, it's
All right, David Hall,
pretty
final
high
thoughts.
end. So
Well, I finally over the weekend got the parts from NVIDIA to make my 3090 Ti work with the VR. And so now that it's working, it's really nice. I've got everything really cranked up very high, and it's running smooth. That combined with that feature that I talked about a few episodes ago, it looks really good. It's really nice. I'm loving it. I can't get the video card graphics or LED to change. IQ will not pick it up, and according to all my internet searches, it's just an NVIDIA driver thing that's broken it, and so IQ just won't touch it. So even though I can turn off my memory lights and Corsair liquid cooler lights, I can't turn it off if I want the case to be completely black at any point. But other than that, it's running smooth, and I was definitely a little despondent, but I got pretty quickly after looking at after just thinking about how the race went. I know exactly what I would need to do differently this time. And definitely the one thing is just don't panic if it's 100 laps to go. But I think I need to be more protective of the lead on a restart if I do have that track position, because it's just the car is so much faster when you can use the whole track.
Yeah, I think maybe you learned your lessons for tomorrow night, and see if you can close the deal. Okay, Donnie Spiker, final thought.
Yeah, just listening to you guys talk about Bristol this week. I have not ran a full-length race yet, except for the 500 at the beginning of the year. But so about 3.5, 4 hours is what I'm gathering from you guys on how long it takes. So I might give that a go Sunday morning. If not, I'll run some A opens. That way I could just build the Cup Car notebook off the sets you guys are running this week. So yeah, looking forward to that. And nothing else.
It's a different beast for sure. I'm not a fan of the full length races. I don't mind them 4 times a year. But I'm not a fan of it. But when you get past that halfway point, you're like, man, we'd be done right now. I think I was P10 at halfway. But going that extra 250, I was able to get to P4, just from attrition. So it's a different beast.
Is this 3 of 4, or is this the 4th one, or is the last race of the season's a full one too, isn't it?
Phoenix.
Yeah, the last
Okay.
Phoenix.
What's
All right,
full
Greg.
length at Phoenix like?
That's a long race.
Well, the real one is 312 kilometers, right? Or 312 laps. I don't know. Greg Hector's final thoughts.
Hey, what's a kilometer, right? Anyways, I'm just I don't know if you guys talked about it in the podcast. I missed. I don't know if I didn't put it in the thing, but I won last week's race at Spa for the KCE League. Took home a nice win on fuel mileage once again for them. They keep winning on fuel mileage. They keep creating rules, and now I still keep winning on fuel mileage. But just getting ready to go green here in a couple minutes at Spa, and hopefully I can get another win in that league, and hopefully run race with you guys now tomorrow night at Bristol as well, and go from there.
All right. My final thoughts. I'm redoing the sound, as I mentioned. My wife has changed her hours at work, and she's now typically not here when I'm racing. So I don't mind turning it up, up, up. I have a sound decibel meter on my iPhone. I was about 103 decibels when I got it to where I liked it. Um, and it just screams, man. And it's totally different because I got my headphones with voice only, like, TeamSpeak and driver chat and spotter. And they also, the headset is protecting my ears from the loud speakers, you know, doing the engine noise. And so just like to throw out, a lot of people forget about, we're always doing this stuff for immersion, 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 and sound is part of that immersion. And so if you're just running headphones only, you're actually missing out on something. So get yourself some nice speakers, get your significant other on a different schedule, and freaking go for it. And with that, hey, we'll see you on the track later.